Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to talk about the books that I read for May. Now, I'm currently actually listening to an audiobook right now, which I think I will finish by the end of the month. End of the day. So it will technically be for May, but yeah, I will just include it for my wrap up in June. So it has been another month in this year, and I feel like it's going fast, but also a little bit slow. There's a lot of things that have been happening around the world right now, and we are all going through a tough time in different ways. Outside of the coronavirus and with the recent police brutality, it's been really trying for a lot of us, for most of us. So I hope you guys are doing okay and you're getting through it, and I hope you guys have something and someone to rely on and to help you get through and just be with your I hope you guys are with your loved ones, and if not, and I hope you guys are getting support in different ways. It's been a good month, I think. I read a lot less this month, which I'm fine with. I'm still pretty much at the same number of books ahead for my reading goal, so I think I'm doing good, and I have like 10 books ahead of schedule, so that's great. I think I'm going to maintain that as much as I can. So yeah, let's get started. So for the month of May, I read a total of 7 books, most of which are actually either audiobooks or ebooks, and I think I only have one like physical book. So yeah, I've been figuring things out ever since last month, and so I'm just letting myself read books the way I want to, or the way that's most convenient to me, I will still be able to really process, but I'm letting myself not get pressured into reading and just finishing a book, because I do want to be able to savor and to really enjoy a book and like really think through everything that's been happening in the book, everything that's happening in the book. So yeah, let's get started. So the first book that I'm reading is actually the first book in the series of the book that I'm currently reading right now, and that is called A Queen in Hiding by Sarah Kozlov. This is a fantasy series called the Nine Realms series. These are books that are all published this year. So I think Queen in Hiding was published January of this year, Queen of Raiders February, Broken Queen March, and then Cerulean was April. So it's all released within a month of each other. I really enjoy this book. I rated this a 3 out of 5 stars. I enjoy the world building. I enjoy the world and even the characters. I went through such a ride reading this book. The reason why I rated it 3 stars was because I wanted a little bit more. I felt like we were following a little too, like there's too many people that we're following, and I felt like it did help with the world building, but it also took away from the characters. So as much as I love the world, I really enjoy the world and cultures and traditions and all of that, I was very much invested in the characters as well, because I feel like it wanted to be a balance of great world building but also great characters, and I felt like it fell flat with the characters because we were following too many and we're focused on world building, which in a way I understand because this is the first book, so you're setting things up. But I don't know, I felt like because of how much because of how much I've learned to love the characters, I wanted a little bit more of them. And it was a wild ride. This is 477 pages for a first book, and it definitely used those 477 pages very well. A lot of people consider this a high fantasy or epic fantasy. A little bit, yeah, it's a little bit high fantasy, but I think this is definitely, I think this is between adult and young adult, but I don't think it's new adult. Maybe more young adult. So I would consider this a more of a young adult book series. But again, I really enjoyed reading this book, and so that's why I'm listening to the next book. Yeah, we are following Cerulia, the Princess of Wirendale, and she needs to master her magic, and in the land of Wirendale, they are a matriarch, so queens rule the country, and each queen is given a power, or is blessed by a power by their god. I think that, like, their gods or whatever, all their queens have blue hair, which is so cool. And that's why I was like, oh, Cerulia, I wonder why. And then, as I read like the first chapter, they have blue hair. So before that happens though, there was a rebellion, and her mother had to run away from the kingdom to protect the kingdom and also her. And so they had to separate, and she was given to a different so she was entrusted to a family that they had met before for her to grow up with. And her mother is able to control people's minds. So when they first met this family, they got the family's kid, they had a really good like connection. And when that happened, after that, her mother erased their memories so that they forget that they met like the crown princess of Wirrendale. But then she also made them forget about the fact that she is a princess of Wirrendale, and to treat her as someone they had just adopted. So she grew up in that family, and we're following her as she struggles to hide her identity and to help. And we're following her as she goes through and grows up into adulthood and to adolescence, while keeping her secret and her growing power as well. So I really enjoyed the series. Again, I'm reading the second book, and we definitely are getting a little bit more. We're following a little less people, and we're a lot more focused now on the war that's happening ish, or like the rebellion and all of that. So I'm really enjoying it so far. Yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. I think this is another book I will enjoy reading, or series I will enjoy reading, which I'm very excited about because I love fantasy. I love fantasy series. So the next book that I read is The Nature Fix: Why Nature Makes Us Happier, Healthier, and More Creative by Florence Williams. This one is another book that I read in audio form, or I listened to in audio form. And this tackles the importance of being in nature in our mental health, but also our physical health. So this is a nonfiction book, which I'm very proud about. I think this is my second nonfiction book for this year. Just great. I rated this a 4 out of 5 stars. I always knew that nature is great for the body, but I didn't know that there were like studies being made around the world on how nature truly affects the health of people and how they perform. We're in a very civilized society, pretty much everywhere, and we are working towards restoring our forests, our animal species, and all of that, and we're losing our touch with nature. And in a very fast-paced world, we need that environment where it gives us a more, where it slows down the things that are going on inside our heads, because it'll help us in the long run. Here we're following the author as she learns about her personal health, but also about these different studies that have been going around everywhere about forests and nature and why nature makes us happier. I think the book is more of how nature makes us happier more than why. I feel like there were a lot more of the how explained, like the effects of nature to us rather than what nature does that results in a better health for human beings. And so I feel like that the title should have been How Nature Makes Us Happier, because I feel like although she had been following these people who have been doing these studies and talking to these people who have done these studies, I feel like we focus much more on the effects of being in nature for us. And so she went pretty much around the world. Like she went to Korea, she went to Japan, she went to Scotland, she went to Idaho, and she's like with this other group of people for the most part that have gone through a lot of different things, and they're also seeking like a better, healthier mental and physical health through nature. And it's really amazing to see like the effects of nature, like the effects that nature gives us, and how much we truly need nature, and how we need to take a step back and be with nature where we started as human beings anyway. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book. 4 out of 5 stars. Definitely, like, I always knew nature is great for our mental health, but now it's like given me the right push to actually seriously and like actually start doing things for me to be able to be with nature more often. And yeah, I'm already like thinking about going on hikes, which I've always wanted to go to, but I always make excuses. Anyway, the next book that I read is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This is the only book that I read in physical form. Actually, I think part of it I read in audiobook form too, like maybe like an hour or so, but I stuck to reading this. This is another one of my beautiful Penguin leather bound classes. No, this is Paper Mill Press, sorry, not Penguin. Paper Mill Press. So yeah, I love this like leather imitation books because they're so pretty. The designs are so nice. Like you see the fan and like the gloves. Like you will know the significance of those gloves as you read the book. So obviously what prompted me to read this book is a movie that's coming out, or that's already been out, I don't think. I haven't seen it, but before I see it, I've always wanted to read Little Women too. And so if you guys didn't know, we're following four sisters and their stories as they grow up, as they, figure out what they want to do for the rest of their lives, as they struggle with their father going to war, being alone with their mother. It's such a heartwarming read. I was charmed by all of the characters right at the beginning. Like I really, really loved all the characters. Even like first 3-4 chapters, I was already in it. I was like already loving all the characters, as imperfect as they were. And I don't know, I really like the dynamic that they have with each other. The whole family dynamic felt so real and like tested. Like they already have gone through a lot before we start following them in this series, like in this, where we start in here in this book. And they all, like each chapter pretty much it's like we're following each of the sisters, how they grow, and the different individual things that they experience that help them grow and change. And like it's so nice following their stories because they have their own characteristics, but their own individual interests and experiences, but also at the end of the day they're a family and they're learning from each other, and they're seeing each other change and grow and mature. And it's just, I really, all the characters, even what's his name, our neighbors, I love that so much. So I don't know, I just really love the family dynamic here and just the individual characters as they were. And it's such a beautiful story of family and friendship and love and war too, a little bit. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book. 5 out of 5 stars. And I read this pretty quickly. This is 200, almost 300 pages. I read it in like a few days, but I was reading it during my lunch break at work because it was that good. Okay, so the next book that I read is In Real Life by Cory Doctorow and Jen Wang. This is a graphic novel, and I rated this a 2 out of 5 stars. It was good. I enjoyed reading it. We are following Anda, who loves gaming. And so when a speaker goes to their school, recruiting them to try playing online as women, she plays it and she befriends a gold farmer and also another one whose main goal is to kill these gold farmers from China. And she learns about their lives outside of, the game, and how the game has been affected by that, and how, they play the game has been affected by that. So she learns a lot about that and, what's going on to other people around the world. And, she has her own struggles, but, she wants to try to help, but maybe her help isn't the right kind of help to give. And so, it was fun, but I felt like I wanted a little bit more from the characters. Obviously it's a graphic novel, but, I felt like I needed a little bit more. Maybe graphic novels are not for me, because I find that the first graphic novel that I've read in a long while, I really loved. And the past few ones, not so much. I enjoyed the story, but I felt like there was a little bit more that we could have gotten from the story, or even from just the characters themselves. Like, I feel like I didn't really connect to the characters as much as I wanted to. So that was sad. But again, I really enjoyed reading like the art, artwork, and it did deal with very serious situations as well that I felt like, again, we could have explored a little bit more. But since this is a more young adult middle grade kind of book, I understand that, and also a graphic novel, I understand that there's certain limitations to that. So again, I enjoyed this, but I want a little bit more. All right. So, the next book that I read is No Rest for the Wicked by Kresley Cole, the second book in the Immortals After Dark series. I've known about this series for years. I read the first book 5 years ago, and so I don't really remember what happened during that time, but this is a paranormal romance, and we are following here a Valkyrie called Katerin, cold-hearted, who lost her two sisters in a vampire attack long ago, and she was gifted by a benevolent force who pretty much removed all of her emotions. And so she doesn't really feel very strong emotions anymore, or anymore at all. So she doesn't feel happiness, she doesn't feel sorrow, she doesn't feel attraction. And then we're also following Sebastian Roth, who was turned into a vampire without his consent, actually against what he wanted when he was a kid by his brother, and he has hated himself ever since he's been turned, and he has been wanting to pretty much die for that time. And when they meet, they realize that they're mated for each other, and that's when it starts. You know, Katerin starts feeling again, and Sebastian wants to continue living. But Katerin refuses to believe that they're meant to be together, or, you know, because they're vampires. Because he's a vampire and she's a Valkyrie, and they're natural enemies. And so she didn't want to do it. No, not happening. And she enters this month-long contest where the prize is a key that will let them go back in time. And so she obviously wants this key so that she can bring her sisters back with her. And so with Sebastian's help, unnecessary help, unwanted help, they try to win the month-long contest, and it's very, very fun to see that contest part, all of that. So I rated this like 3 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed reading this. I don't know if I will continue. I feel like it's a lot more fun than it is very substantial, because it's very heavy on the sexy scenes, as books like this are. And if you're looking for like those, then you will really enjoy this. And I do enjoy those, but I feel like, you know, the world is really great. We're here, we're in this world where there are vampires, where there are Valkyries, where there are werewolves, and there are fae and witches and all that. And I would love to learn more about the world and the rules and how they go about and live within the mortal world as well, without the mortals knowing anything. I probably might enjoy reading the next few books, but I feel like if I needed, like, you know, a pick-me-up, I would read one of the books. Because I feel it is one of those like companion novels, as you don't necessarily need to read, like, you know, the previous books, not much. Right, so the next book that I finished, the last book that I finished for this month, is Devil in Winter. This is a historical romance, another very heavy romantic, like heavily in the romance kind of scene. And we are following Evangeline Jenner. This is part of a series as well, the Wallflower series. I have not read any of the other books here in the series, and this is the third book in here, so I might, you know, go back and read the first few books again if I do need it, because this is kind of similar to No Rest for the Wicked in that it's very much heavy on the romance and smutty scenes, and not so much on the other parts. I mean, I enjoy this. I rated it as 2 stars. I definitely enjoyed No Rest for the Wicked a little bit more. There were just scenes here that I was not a fan of. Like, I wasn't really happy with. Our, you know, protagonist is the shyest wallflower in her group, and so she suffers from stammers, and she decides to enlist the help of this duke. Was he a duke? No, wait. Let's see. But yeah, he's one of the aristocrats who is looking for marriage as well. A wealthy woman to marry, because although he has a title, he actually isn't very rich because his father gambles. And so Evie is being threatened by her immediate family to marry within the family as well, so that they can keep the money to themselves. And so she decides to enlist the help of this Viscount St. Vincent to marry her instead, so that she'll, you know, escape the clutches of her evil family. So that's where we start, obviously. But I really did not enjoy how St. Vincent treats her sometimes. Like, he called her a bitch, which I did not like at all. None of them loved it. I was like, oh no. I mean, I continued reading it, but, you know, as I see more of how I get like cold, dispassionate men but when he calls you a bitch, I don't know. I feel like you're replacing another kind of abuse to, although a lesser one is still abuse. I don't know. I rated it 2 stars. I liked quite a bit of it, but I was not feeling very comfortable with. I think there were 2 or 3 scenes throughout the books that I did not really like, and those are all from St. Vincent's actions. So yeah, 2 stars. Might read the other books though. I don't know, but yeah. So those are all the books that I finished for this month. I mean, I have another book right now that I'm still reading, but those are the books that I finished. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching my wrap up. I tried to make this short again, but we'll see once I edit it. I mean, I think it's a lot shorter than before. In terms of, I only have like 7 books to talk about. I feel like it's not that short, so yeah. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have read these books as well, tell me what you guys thought. If you guys agree, or if you're also thinking about reading some of these books, let me know. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys are doing very well. I hope you're doing okay, and we'll get through this together. I hope I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.